Hello, 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 and welcome to the SideQuest, your weekly journey into the wonderful world of video games, video game culture, and everything in between. I'm Dolly Domofsky, one of your hosts. Joining me shortly will be Taylor Bliss. You'll see him in a second here, and maybe we'll see if anybody else joins us. But hey, it's Sunday, and it is Fun Day. The end of the weekend. We are on a new week eve. I want to give a shout out real quick to our Patreon members, producers, and executives. The executives, of course, Tom Johnson and Punk Defied. Thank you to the both of you for being phenomenal and helping us keep side questing, the bills for side questing paid a little bit easier so we don't have to go crazy and take out loans. And then also thank you to our producers, Stefan Swanlin, Zero the Prototype, Exaginous, and Jeff Grubb. You guys are awesome. We love you. Thank you. You guys are fantastic. And you can also be a Patreon member if you go to sidequesting.com. Click on the Patreon link. I'm actually going to be sending out the Quickie Stickies tomorrow. I've got a brand new sticky pad here. I got like 5 of them actually. This is not new, this is an old one. And I've got some new stickies set up. So I'll be doing special sticky notes per person. You get a very special individual, curated, bespoke creation for each person. So that should be pretty cool. It's been a week all over the place. But we've got a little bit of news that we're going to cover, and then when Taylor comes in, hopefully he can talk a little bit about what he's been playing, which is kind of interesting. So we'll see in a moment here when Homeboy shows up. But in the meantime, let's see here. Yeah, SideQuesting.com, SideQuesting TV on the socials like YouTube and Twitch, and SideQuesting.com on Blue Sky. Want to remind you that we have the phenomenal PAX East panel coming at you live on May 8th at 3:30 in the Bumblebee room over there at PAX East. And a lot of folks are coming back from GDC right now. And the next big showcase, next big expo thing, I guess, is PAX East. So that's in May. And we got our SideQuesting party will be taking place likely that Thursday as well. I'm a little tired. Don't mind me. Yeah, so it's a whole lot of fun coming up. And then we've got the Switch 2 reveal in just a couple of weeks here. 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. That'll be a lot of fun as well. And yeah, so with that said, I just hope you're being happy and healthy. That's my hope for everybody that watches the SideQuest as a part of our fun little community. I'm going to dive into a little bit of news here while I'm waiting for Taylor, because I am sort of riffing a little bit until he shows up. But there has been actually quite a lot of smaller news that are sort of building up. A lot of new game announcements this week. We won't get into those because I still got to do the posts on these suckers, but we'll get to the posts eventually. I do want to mention. Y'all know me. I'm a Lego person, right? And because I'm a Lego person, I drool at anytime there's a new Lego announcement. Well, there was a new Lego announcement, friends, and that Lego announcement is that Lego Pokemon is on the way. Now, up until now, Mega Bloks, which I believe is Mattel, had the Pokemon IP license, and now it looks like that has finally ended, and they've gone full. Every Nintendo thing now has moved over to Lego for all their fun blocks. So we had Mario, we've had all the different kind of cool little Nintendo consoles and creations. We got the Game Boy coming later this year, which we don't know a lot about yet, but hopefully we'll find out soon enough. And then we got Zelda, which is awesome, and Mario Kart, and now we have Animal Crossing. Obviously, that's been still going out there, and we got Pokemon coming now. So they showed a little Pikachu tail, zip, zap, zip. So, and you can actually see the little thunderbolts everywhere. But yeah, they're not talking much about this until next year. That's 2026 is when it'll be revealed fully or launched fully. But yeah, there you go. Pokemon's always good. Are you Pokemon fans? I know I am. Like I said, I'm just a little bummed that they haven't released a like Pokemon Mario game. Like that seems like just the easiest win. Pokemon Mario or Pokemon Nintendo World would be really cool, where you can actually go in all the different Nintendo themed sections. You know, maybe there's a Zelda area, there's a Mario area, Animal Crossing, right? Obviously, all those. But then you can have like Metroid. You can have a bunch of other ones where you can actually be the characters, and they're cool little block forms. So I don't know. I think that'd be a fun one. I know Mario is sort of the obvious one because you can get fun levels of humor in there. But man, I'd love just an overall Lego everything. Hey, buddy, how's it going? Look at that beautiful background there, Taylor Bliss.
Sorry, I'm late.
No, you're fine. I was blazing the trail with some Lego Pokemon news. So, how's your day? How's your weekend been going?
I mean, we don't need to talk about personal matters on the stream, I don't think.
You got a rash. That's good, but hopefully it goes away. No, that's good. Well, hopefully you're still alive and healthy. And I was just mentioning that we've got less than like a little bit over 2 weeks until the freaking Switch 2 announcement, which is just crazy to think we're almost there. Just actually get to see this thing.
You know, it's I mean, do we think that the April announcement's the real deal? That's the
yeah, I think that's where everything gets laid out, and I'm starting to wonder. I think we had been kind of chatting in the Discord. If you're a member to go to the SideQuest Discord, we have been kind of thinking like internally in our conversations that maybe June-ish launch of the console seems somewhat correct. But now I'm starting to hear things like May is actually when it's happening, like the week after PAX, which is just wild to think about. But yeah, you got a couple weeks. I think that's where we'll finally see all the stuff related.
I mean,
to
summer certainly makes a lot of sense to a guy like me, at least.
Yeah.
Summer puts you into, like, realistically, you're not targeting PS5 gamers. You're not. I mean, like, I'm focusing on PS5 because Xbox Series is kind of like relatively non-existent as far as high-end stuff is concerned. But you're not targeting people that are bleeding edge, right?
Yeah.
You're targeting predominantly older adults, or younger families.
Yeah.
And if that's what you're targeting, well, then summer makes a lot of sense because kids get out of school, and you're like, okay, what are we going to do this summer to occupy the time? Ages like 7 to 15 or whatever. I don't know. Nintendo's statistics skew. And if that's the case, well, yeah, May into June, regardless of which month it is, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And the FPS on my camera is like fucking me up real bad. I don't know if it's like just me, or what. But anyway,
I see it as well, so I don't know.
Lovely! I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that.
You actually mentioned FPS, and this isn't really a story that I was going to cover, but
yeah.
So I picked up Xenoblade Chronicles X, the definitive edition, and just started playing. I'm not really going to talk about that in my gaming session here because I'm just.
Oh, I did hear about this one too, though.
There's a hidden 60 frames per second. It doesn't really quite work, but the code is in there for like part way through it. So
right,
folks are starting to wonder.
There has been the common theory, which is, well, there's a non-Nintendo Switch. Yeah. Well, I mean, so it's two ways, right? The first thing I saw was not Nintendo Switch hardware, like not Nintendo hardware, like that they would possibly be considering a
PC port or something.
PC port. And then obviously the other even more obvious alternative, which is just switch to hardware.
Yeah.
A little bit more powerful, plus upscaling technology means that you get 60 FPS solid. And you put in a toggle, which makes it easy to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more stuff happening with this, so I'm going to be real curious in a couple of weeks here when we find out more about this thing. So it's been I think January was when they first showed off the console, which it looked exactly what we all thought it was going to look like, and now a couple weeks away. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of speculation to go before then, but
it's. Nintendo is a fascinating company.
That's the most fascinating. Yeah.
It's just like when they were moving from the Wii U to the Switch, I got it. I understood it. There was a lot more. There was just a lot more things happening under the hood, hardware wise, software wise. Design wise,
yep.
Comparative to the existing console of the Wii U, to justify the level of secrecy and everything. This time around, I don't really get it. At the end of the day, they're making a more powerful Switch.
Yeah.
Iterations on the Joy-Cons or whatever aside, it's relatively small potatoes.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's been so few Nintendo console iterations that I've been following to this level of detail that I just don't get it. That's totally possible.
It's the DS to the 3DS in a way.
Yeah,
right?
In a lot of ways, right? Yeah. And honestly, in a lot of ways, also even less so.
Yeah.
Because the 3DS had a major.
You had a hook.
It had a major feature that it was unique to it.
Yeah.
I don't think the Switch 2 is going to have it. I mean, unless we're going to say like the mouse functionality where like the IR blaster can also function.
I don't know.
That doesn't really move the needle.
No.
So like we know that it's going to be a detachable Joy-Con console again, and that kind of stuff. So like, what's really there?
Yeah. What's the hook? What's that Nintendo innovation going to be? And do they need a ton of innovation right now? Because
I don't think they need it.
I don't know.
I just don't think that it's more of just like speaking towards Nintendo broader.
Sure.
They certainly don't need it to continue what they have, which is broad market dominance because of just install base. In many ways, like Nintendo Switch is to consoles as to what Steam Deck is to PC gaming, right? Yep. Which is that it runs every low-end AAA game, and it runs every indie game well enough.
Yep.
And puts it into a handheld size. Nintendo Switch does the handheld portion better than the Steam Deck does. And obviously, the Steam Deck sales numbers compared to the Switch numbers.
It's a different. I mean, it's also a different market, right? I mean, I'm not trying
to equate the Steam Deck market.
Yeah, sure.
And not until Nintendo puts Nintendo games on Steam will that be anywhere close to equivalent. By the way, that's never going to happen. I wasn't trying to suggest.
No. Not legally.
Not legally. Switch emulators be damned. But I mean, it's just the Switch will continue to do exactly what it is, and I think Nintendo sees that. I don't think they have a reason to try and mix that up in any way. I think that's the correct move. If it was me, doing, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we don't actually know what the chip in the Switch 2 is yet. I don't think,
we don't know. They had the hardware shape leaks that went out, but really nothing else about the Switch 2 leak. And I mean, in a weird way, it's like, wow, kudos to Nintendo for being able to
it was
not
like
let
that. There
anything
was like
else.
a flood in, what was it, January or February, where like all of a sudden it was, here's like prefab estimates and like back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So
but nobody knows the actual. So
I'm surprised that we don't know the chipset and stuff like that.
Yeah. Speaking of Steam, there is something that we could actually chat about right here, and this was the news that leaked out this week that Steam on Xbox opening 1 billion doors with Xbox. Because if you look in right here, it's kind of hard to see. It says Steam on the Xbox in this new Microsoft. It looks like it's definitely a PC screen, right? For Steam.
And so I looked at this pretty like after this got posted on. I mean, obviously Verge is our source.
Yes. Yep. Thank you, Verge.
Because I think they grabbed it. This is official press release. So, but
and it got taken down. It was, and it got taken down.
Yeah. But the big boys caught it before the time came.
Sure.
But what I noticed personally is that the only places that this UI is replicated on is what appears to be a PC screen, a tablet screen, a phone screen, and a portable screen, which is that one looks like an Asus ROG Ally.
Yes.
So, you take that with the grain of salt that, I mean, this is honestly more than a grain of salt. You take it for the greater grain of salt than it is, which is the fact that yes, there is a console there, but when you consider that there's communication barriers that happen between design and development and then marketing, what realistically this means, if I'm interpreting it, is that this is a app-based deployment. And when you know how the Xbox interface happens on Windows, it is an app. So when you put all those things together, this is not how it's going to look on consoles. 95% chance.
I completely agree with you, to the point where if you load up the GOG Galaxy app,
right,
it shows you everything that you have, whether it's like Xbox. I think you could link Xbox and PlayStation at one point, and it shows you here's all the games, and if you want to click out to the software to use it, go ahead. This is just sort of an overlay, and it's actually kind of it's a smart way. I remember it's gonna be a weird aside, but Nintendo was one of the I hate when I bring up Nintendo in this way, because they're always they always try these goofy ass things, but Nintendo had done the Wii U, where you could link all the TV and video apps that you had on the Wii U, and you could scroll and watch. It's just like one overlay. It's like you want to watch this show, this show, this show, this.
Yeah, was it Unified? It was Unified something.
Yeah,
because Xbox One tried to do it too.
Yeah,
back when they had the tuner, plug in your TV tuner into the Xbox One and pass it through.
It was just called Nintendo TV, VII, TVII.
But anyway, Xbox One tried to do it too back in the day.
Yep. And so this may be just their version of it for gaming, is what you're kind of thinking as well.
Yeah, I mean, so
on PCs, yeah.
We chatted about this briefly in the Discord when we were talking, when the news was breaking about the idea that Xbox was going to move forward with a portable hardware with a partner to do the hardware aspect of it. And my comment was that it is basically dead on arrival, 95%, unless they significantly revamp the software experience of gaming on Windows.
Yeah.
Because you look at what is most successful about Steam Deck, and it is the fact that the gaming mode, which is enabled by basically Steam Big Picture Mode running on Linux is the driving factor of its success. In my opinion, all of the Windows handhelds are buoyed by the success of the Steam Deck and the relative greater compatibility of Windows gaming, because anti-cheat is not prevalent on Linux. So the very, 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 very popular competitive games aren't available on Linux, only on Windows. So if Microsoft wants to do this, what they need is to leverage something that is of similar, not complexity, but competence of what Steam gaming mode does on Steam Deck.
Sure.
And if it can do something like that, then I think that it has a real chance. And I think that, I mean, this is unfortunately a mock-up. This is not.
Yeah, you're correct.
If it was my opinion, a 50-50 split that this is real. This is unfortunately too easy to like compare to what exists on the Xbox app. It could be a beta version, it could be an alpha version, but it also could just as easily be a mock-up, because like it's like completely comparative to renders. But this is like, if they did something like this where you can click on Steam and see all your Steam games, then they've got a shot. Like you boot into a Windows handheld, it boots into this UI. You can click on your Steam games and see all your Steam games and launch them. Then you have a chance. But I mean, there's like tons of other caveats that exist there, which are, how does installation look like? How does management look like? You know, these are mock-ups. So like we're talking about like this one literal screenshot and turning this into a 10-minute discussion of it. So take it for what you will. But I don't know. It like the fact that it gives us any hope is indicative of the fact that like we want this to be real, right? And we want it to be something that like is possible, because I personally think that if there's a Windows alternative to Steam Deck, and as a Steam Deck owner personally that loves that piece of hardware, the competition in that type of space is only positive.
Yes.
Like the added competition being existent in Windows is huge, because I mean, like, you know, we've gotten to the point where people are like, when do I get SteamOS gaming mode, you know, and what SteamOS is, and how do I install it on my regular PC so that I can make a Linux gaming desktop separate from my Windows machine? And I think if Windows ignores that fact, then they've left opportunity on the table. So that's my actual takeaway from this whole big thing.
No, I'm very much in agreement with you. This is, for all intents and purposes, I think this is a mock-up. Because it does also heavily lean into Xbox games, Xbox owned IP. That's what's all showing all those. I think the Epic, at one point there was like a mention of Epic Game Store as well. So, but whatever. I lean into this being a mock-up, or I lean into it being a test by Microsoft to like what you're saying, their Windows backend for their Xbox gaming and Windows gaming and everything else is gonna have to start to come together into one sort of unified thing. And you open a billion doors with Xbox, you're not going to see all these tabs potentially on a. And by the way, this is a mock-up. It still doesn't look super great. I still have design issues. I have design issues with it, but that's okay. Well, those little buttons are going to be impossible to click even on the freaking ROG Ally. But
it is not a touch interface.
Correct.
It's not a mobile interface. And that was, so the other thing that really speaks to it to be a mock-up to me is the fact that it is identical and almost perfectly scaled. Now, I didn't do pixel to pixel interpolation for this because this ain't my job. I don't have time for this. But from my layman's eye, the main screen in the background to the ally screen in the foreground and the tablet screen on the far right are all identical.
Yep. It's the same.
It's the same picture scale. It's the same picture scaled.
Yeah.
So like that doesn't happen unless you mock up.
Agreed.
You would see slightly different UI elements in different scenarios if it was a render across 3 different screens. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, Deli. Was Asus the official announced partner for the hardware?
No, they haven't actually announced the partner yet.
They didn't announce it.
No, they didn't announce the partner.
I thought it was Asus.
And it had leaked because they haven't said anything about actually doing it. That was just a big leak from prying eyes that this was going to happen. So nothing official came from Xbox about this, which I'm assuming we're going to find out here at the June stuff that's going to be happening, right? They have their showcase in June.
I think June's going to actually be a pretty big month.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge month for gaming.
Whether obviously if Switch 2 comes out in May, June will be huge because it'll be game announcements. If Switch 2 doesn't come out in May, it's going to be huge because June will be Switch 2 month in general overall.
Yeah.
And then the Xbox needs to say something about what it's going to be, because the general atmosphere towards what Xbox is relatively poor. I would put it on the category of mostly negative.
Yeah. It's just because the vision isn't clear. I mean, you have to really you have to have the clear vision. Gives you much easier marketing for other, when you're talking to consumers right now. Like the PS5 is very easy to market because it's like we are the game console, and we have games, and that's it. That's all it is. There's nothing.
Well, what's crazy is that they didn't drop the second part, Dali.
Yeah, it's true.
Because realistically, they don't have that many games. They have a couple.
Correct.
Correct. And I'm happy to fight the fanboys in the comments, the non-existent comments that exist on our website. But
correct. Yeah.
PS5 subsists on being the gaming console because of mostly vibes.
Right.
They have 3 to 4 strong first party titles and franchises that like kind of lifts all boats for them. But other than that, there's not a significant thing there other than the general feeling that they've established for what the console is.
And you have to, going back to 2019, 2020, when these consoles launched, it in a weird way, like PlayStation kind of came in as the chest thumper again and started kind of letting off the gas a little bit, to the point where there was actually a lot of push behind Xbox. I had an Xbox before I had a PlayStation, the PS5, I think, if I remember correctly, because there's actually more of a groundswell. You just had Halo Infinite coming out. You had, you're launching with the Halo game, and you have Forza, and you have so there were some big hitters coming out.
Well, there was plus PS5 supply issues.
Game Pass was kicking. Yeah, it was really coming in.
Things just changed a lot in the last 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, we talked about this before. We don't need to keep rehashing it, but the Series S factor is a net negative. Xbox hoped that by including a console at a lower price point that they'd be able to garner interest on the broader scale, and that obviously was not the case.
Right.
People wanted a console that they could buy and that would compete with everything else that would exist in the broader scale, and that they wouldn't have to have anything that would compensate at all. And so the Series S just doesn't I mean, The problem is that the Series S is a cheap gaming PC at the end of the day. And the people that buy consoles don't want to buy a cheap gaming PC. They want to buy a console that looks good and doesn't do anything else.
Yeah.
It was a gamble that failed for Microsoft and for Xbox. So, that was, although, I mean, if we were to go into extreme detail, I think that personally the Xbox One era set up the failure of the Xbox Series era.
Sure.
For other reasons that's unrelated to the Xbox One versus PS4. But, I'm not an industry insider for those reasons because I don't have to speak.
But we may not be industry insiders, but we are definitely gamers. Not capital G gamers. I was not go that route, but we play games and
lowercase G gamers.
Lowercase G gamers. And if you're like me, and I know you are, because we're both incredibly attractive dudes.
Sure.
It's been a little difficult to play games lately with family and life and work and everything. So we are trying to nip and tuck. I don't even know if those are actual words related to wherever we can get gaming in. And I have spent, I think I brought it up before, and I'm still, when it comes to when I play an RPG, RPGs take a long ass time for me to go through. I freaking love them. There are some, like the retro RPGs I can blast through. Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake was phenomenal, and I was able to get through that in like couple weeks. It was, for me, it was perfect. I was able to blast through it, loved it. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 in the lead up to X. I've been playing 3 and I keep like looking at my playtime and I'm getting sucked into the side quests.
So just don't do those.
Horrible. I should not do those, but I like to be very OP when it comes to taking
I promise you, as somebody who managed to actually beat Xenoblade Chronicles 3 with child, it just don't do that.
That's right. You were actually pregnant at the time. Amazing.
I was pregnant. Yeah.
But yeah, it's no, I don't need to, and I've been avoiding some of the stuff. I did pick up the I picked up the DLC because I know that all 3 of the 3 Xenoblade Chronicles games have DLC that has a little bit of tying into kind of the overall story of Xenoblade Chronicles. The whole series is kind of their thematic threads, and there actually is a tie, even though they're completely separate stories. So I picked up the DLC for that, and I'm gonna play through that eventually, and I've got to go back and play the DLC for the first one. I think it was like Future Connected or something, but I'm just now starting. I'm like, you know what? Let me put 3 aside for a second. I'm gonna start Xenoblade Chronicles X. I had started on the Wii U way back in the day, and I figured let me at least get that going on. I
never beat it on Wii U.
Oh, you never did?
No.
Did you have a Wii U?
I didn't know
yeah. Oh, you did? Yeah. It was. So
I was a Wii U. Like I was one of the OGs.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it was I played it. It was a difficult game I never completed that game either. I think it came out like towards the end of the Wii U, like the last year, and the Wii U, by the way, only lasted like 4 years. So I keep saying towards the end of the Wii. It was 4 years. They had some good games each year, but not enough of them. And it just kind of fell by the wayside by the time people actually got around to it. I think the Wii U was essentially a goner at that time. But so yeah, I put a little bit of time and I got the cool collector's set thing. But I maybe put like 10 hours into it on the Wii U, but now I've got a good old fashioned half hour into the Switch
30
version.
minutes. Wow.
Yeah. Enough to see the opening cinematic and part of the opening cinematic and start creating my character. And that's basically where I am. It looks good. The graphical updates are really nice from the little bit that I've seen. So I can't get into it, but juggling 2 giant RPGs, I'm okay with it. I will be hopping back and forth. I'm still going to mainline Chronicles 3 because it is such a solid, it is a pretty fantastic RP. Like going back now, I'm like, wow, there's layers of stuff in this game, and the tutorial system never really ends because even like later chapters you're learning how to do stuff. But there's a lot. That game is thick. It's a thick boy. But yeah, so I'll be juggling both of them. So I may have more to say about Chronicles X within the next few weeks. But I looked at my time on 3, and I've got like 60 hours on 3 already, and I'm just getting into chapter 4 because I've been freaking doing they get me with the side quests. They get me every freaking it's mostly the Xenoblade games.
There's no shame.
It's mostly the Xenoblade games that get me with the side quests. I don't know why. Like a lot of other games don't, but I think the last time I fell into side quest hell, and this is actually really funny. I don't know if you were on the podcast way back then. You may have been back in like 2012, 2011 as a guest, but it was Infinite Undiscovery. Just a horrible game with a horrible name, and that was
classic.
That was all it was all fetch quests, all side quests, and I got
I have a really funny story about Infinite Undiscovery.
Go ahead, yeah.
Because I never beat Infinite Undiscovery.
No one did. No one did.
Well, I mean, that might be true. So because Infinite Undiscovery came out when I was still in college, and
God, so you're that young. I forgot you're a baby.
Hold on. Let me double check. Infinite Undiscovery. When did you come out? Infinite Oh, you know
2008. What? Okay.
No, I was out of college, so I'm thinking of something else.
Okay. Either way. Yeah.
What's the one? No. What's the one that you play as a character that's immortal? Also an Xbox RPG.
What is it?
If Zach was here, he'd be like,
"Oh,
you're so fucking stupid."
Yeah, you stupid idiot.
Anyway,
okay.
So it's not Infinite Discovery, which makes my story useless. So ignore it. But I did have. I think I had Infinite Discovery.
Lost Odyssey. Was it Lost Odyssey?
Lost Odyssey.
Lost Odyssey. And I know this because I just Googled Xbox RPG Immortal, and that was the very first one that come up. Because Lost Odyssey on the Switch. When was it? Actually,
when did it come out?
2007. So yeah, 2007.
Yeah, because I graduated in 2010, so that makes sense.
Okay, man, babies. Yes.
Oh, please. We get with the other people that we have on staff. Don't you dare.
Yeah, it is true. No, I can't. Yeah.
But anyway, so Lost Odyssey. What was your story about, or what was your stories about?
Infinite Discovery Infinite Discovery was a bad game because it was just all side quests, and the majority of people that were on that episode are just like, Dolly, what? Just stop playing it. I'm like, I can't. I have to finish it. And I don't know if you were a guest or it's Eric Smith or Near. I don't know. Everyone's just like, dude, just stop playing it. It's okay to stop playing a bad game. And I took that was my intervention.
Listen, I just Googled Infinite Discovery, and it's 92% liked this video game.
Oh well, yeah. From where? it's like the one guy
across the internet, man.
Across the internet. But yeah. So
Metacritic is 68%. It's a 7 out of 10, man.
That's nuts. Oh my lord. Speaking of which, by the way, our panel at PAX East will be 7 out of 10. Can't wait for that one. Yeah, Xenoblade. That's what I've been playing. I've get lost in side quests because side quests are just the juice for me, man. It's mindless. It is easy work. It's busy work, and sometimes you do just need the busy work to just I just got to shut my mind off. I don't want to know a story. I just got to go pick up some berries, dude. I got to help the Nopons, pick up some berries and get some coins, baby. What are you playing?
So I am playing. I'm gonna leave this call and join right back in to see if I can make my camera not be like this. So I'll be right back.
Okay. He is playing Set Up the Camera Correctly the first time. And then he will join us in a second here. I have some videos loaded because I think what he's playing are in these videos, but we'll see. he got a code for for one game that he actually talked about. Well, he did talk about it. Somebody else talked about it. So we'll see if he is able to do this. All right. Just gonna wait for Taylor. What else? What are you guys playing? What's everybody else playing? Feel free to let us know, and maybe we'll talk about it. Maybe we won't. I don't know. I like to talk about stuff with you, beautiful people. Xenoblade. It is really good, and it functions so well on the Switch. Which it just as camera. I'm surprised it functions so well. I shouldn't be surprised. It's a game from like 2010 or so, but it functions really well on the Switch, and it's weirdly enough. There Exadramus is still a billionaire. That game. I bought that money game, and maybe that's what Taylor will talk about as well. Games with like real simple mechanics can be so freaking addicting. I think Balatro kind of started this rebirth of the trend, because we had like Peggle back in the day. Peggle was sort of in this vein, and which was just a simple game style that you start to add layers onto. Puzzle Quest was that way. There you go. Look at that. Brick walls. Back. Yeah. It's a little bit better.
Yeah, it's better, like frame rate perspective.
Yes,
but I'm not. I dropped my virtual background. Nice. I've elected for the default StreamYard. Thank you so much.
Nice.
For everything you've
done. So yeah, it looks good. You're. We're going to spray paint around you.
Please.
Yeah.
So
what you playing?
We're playing. Well, chief on the list, of course, is we received Monster Hunter Wilds for review. I cannot deliver the full review yet, and
sure.
And that's mostly because
it will be impossible to do it.
I mean, like, so here's my thing: is that like we didn't get it beforehand. Right. We didn't. We got it like what? Like I think 48 hours before launch.
If that,
maybe 24.
Right. Maybe 24. Yeah.
It came out on February 28th.
Something like that. Yeah.
Maybe. So that gives us like 3 weeks and a couple days. I think that. I mean, look, I was about to say that even if I didn't have a job that I'd be able to do it, but that's probably not true. Sure. I would at least be able to be done with the full story.
Okay.
So the way that Monster Hunters in current days work is that there's at least usually 2 credit rolls.
Mm-hmm.
They have a primary story. You roll the credits in the primary story, and then it like kind of keeps going for a little bit, and then you roll credits on like the extended story.
Mm-hmm.
So I've rolled credits on the primary story.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow.
You play through, there's a start and an end, and the characters that were kind of useless NPCs become interactive NPCs because now that they have an established place in the world that they do things with you with. That's a technical term.
Yeah. That's the name of our podcast episode this week.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Wonderful. So that part's good. The other kind of thing that kind of factored into it is that when did the 9070 XT launch? So I bought a new
nice
graphics card during this process. So I want to say that it was 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
I think it was something like that. Yeah.
It was the first week of March.
Okay.
I stalled just long enough.
You stalled just long enough to get in there.
It was Thursday, March 6th was the launch. So it's tough. So there's a lot of positive things to say about Monster Hunter Wilds. There's unfortunately a bunch of negative things to also like that are impossible to ignore, which are predominantly performance related issues.
Okay.
I don't have the perspective of how it runs on console,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure is relatively stable in terms of FPS. But unfortunately, it's probably relatively negative in terms of general visual performance.
Sure.
Because God knows that on PC, it's a healthy mix of both. Because it doesn't run worth shit on what the predominant. Oh, Mitsuni's coming. It doesn't run worth shit on what is the vast majority of
mm-hmm.
kind of hardware that is out there as far as majority is concerned. You know, when you look at Steam Hardware Survey or anything like that, it's basically GTX 3060 or sorry, RTX 3060, maybe some 4060s out there, but by and large it's the lower end of GPUs per
Mm-hmm.
generation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically universally horrible on all of them. I don't know what Capcom did to kind of make it like this. You know, you look at some technical reviews of their other games this year that run on the same engine, Dragon's Dogma 2, similar kind of issues in some regards. It's a shame because like the game is really good. It's a really good Monster Hunter game. Cutscenes look amazing, as we can see right here. That's one of their really early kind of eating ones. There's just some things that are missing on it. I don't know if it's a forest for the trees moment where they were trying to capture a open world game and lost fidelity because of it. In general, I think that sometimes you can forget about some of the performance issues when you're doing regular hunts, because regular hunts tend to be more focused than other stuff. The broad scope of some of the story stuff actually makes it worse because they try to capture more things than what a typical Monster Hunter, you know, go and hunt this monster typically does. It's a tough game to review because I can't quite figure it out.
Sure.
It's really good in many ways and structurally unsound in others, where it should do better for how much, like, you know, I have the most upgraded CPU for gaming that exists out there. I have the 9800 X3D. Now, I don't have a GTX or an RTX 5090, the most expensive top of the line GPU that exists for PCs. I have a AMD 9070 XT. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, for in the grand scheme of things. And it's still, I forget which outlet said it. I think it was Digital Foundry said that it runs like a game that does a lot more than what it delivers. Which, you know, and another way to put it is that it acts like a game that's doing a significantly more advanced set of systems than what it actually is doing. Because for how poorly relatively it performs, it doesn't deliver an expert level of graphical fidelity.
Sure.
It doesn't look bad by any means, but it doesn't look as good as what it should, considering how far it pushes all of the hardware, at least on PC. So on PS5, I believe that it looks relatively stable. You know, it's just one of those things of like, you know, Dragon's Dogma 2 had a similar thing. I think for Silent Hill 2, they scaled it back for the remake. But also Silent Hill 2 is like a zone-based game, where everything is very strict on what is going to happen in the environment. No open worlds in the greater scope. So
do you think this would have run better if it was sort of the more classic Monster Hunter, smaller?
I actually, I thought about this specifically, that question because it is in many ways the old Monster Hunter, just with the individual maps being bigger. Because when you look at the map against the world map, it's the same. It's just that the selected tiles have more pieces put together at one point in time. So where you would have one hunt that you would go on, and that one hunt would have 4 zones associated with it.
Sure.
Now all those 4 zones are in one. And so each locale, which used to be 3 or 4 zones, is now 1 zone. But like, that shouldn't. There's lots of games that do open world on similar scopes of maps, but don't suffer in this way for performance. And actually, what one thing I loaded up this past week, or the past 2 weeks, and what I recall taking a unique approach to this is I booted up Horizon Zero Dawn's remastered edition, because the remastered upgrade for PC was on sale for like $8 or something like that. And I remember back when Guerrilla was showing off how Horizon Zero Dawn, not Forbidden West, although I'm sure Forbidden West used a very similar engine type, is that for Zero Dawn, basically nothing was loaded except what you were looking at any given time. And they dynamically...
Just that field of view.
Okay. Right, it was a field of view rendering scheme. And I can't help but feel like Monster Hunter Wilds is trying to load as much as humanly possible all the time. And I don't know, there's something happening here on a fundamental level which is holding Monster Hunter Wilds back. And hopefully that gets fixed in an update, whether it's now or down the line, near future. And I'm sure that the general perspective on the way that I'm describing it is probably negative. But like I said, I'm using very high-end hardware, and it's very good. It looks really good.
Yeah.
It plays very well. My frames are very good. But even despite that, I feel like it should be more than what it is. So I guess it's one of those things where, like, I played Monster Hunter Rise, and I played it a lot. I played it a lot on Switch, and then I played it a lot on PC when they ported it. When, if I'm not mistaken, they run on the same
engine.
Core engine. It's just like how it's scaled. Obviously, Rise ran on the Switch, so like, there's
a lot easier to scale up.
Right, you can only push it so far.
Yeah.
And there was obviously a lot of reduction in quality that happened for it to be on the Switch. But like, brother, I'm playing a Monster Hunter game. I don't need a lot.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, like, I can't help but feel like there was something in between Rise and Wilds where their performance would have been significantly better, and my experience would have been improved as a result of it. But that being said, like, Monster Hunter Wilds is pretty sick.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, I say, like, this is the longest negative lead up to that. Monster Hunter Wilds is a great Monster Hunter game. I played, let's see what it says about how much I've played. I've played, it says 80 hours, but I have children, which means that I've left it open at least 4 times across an entire day. So we'll call it like 60 hours ish, to be safe. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not even fully complete with the second credit roll yet. And I mean, I like it. I think the general narrative about some people who posted on Reddit about I've played 3 weeks and put in 130 hours and where's my content is really funny. I find it really hard to ignore making fun of those people.
Right. Brother, you put in 130 hours.
So I think, anyway, I don't remember exactly when it happened, but it was at the time that I read the thread. It was an average of 10 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's nuts.
And I was like, how
are you able to do it?
It's like I know how they're able to do it.
Yeah,
they're children. They're children and or college students. They're
playing on company time.
Right, some other manner of person who is not working full time.
Yes.
If you take 2 weeks off to do it, and this is your job for those 2 weeks, then I get it. Complaining about not having content after putting in 10 hours a day for 2 weeks straight is fucking crazy. But you know what? It's up to you to do that. But yeah, I know. I mean, like there's plenty of other outlets that will put into better words than what I will do. Digital Foundry did it on, I think, like day 1 or day 2 after it was released, which was that there's no reason why your performance should take a like 50% hit when you're staring at a basically static desert scene. But that does happen in Wilds. If you're not running really, really top of the line, certainly CPU or like computer components, you're going to be suffering. PS5 versus PS5 Pro, I bet you that the Pro is a pretty decent improvement over the regular PS5.
Sure.
And
for this game,
it doesn't feel like a game that should be that much better.
I wonder. I mean, you bring up a lot of great points about just overall performance. I wonder if a lot of that is feature creep having an impact. So feature creep, for those that don't know, is when you start in any project, it could be any industry.
Yeah.
You start adding stuff on there. It's like, I got to add a few. I got to do this. I got to make the scales shimmer. Why? Because I got to have particle ice, gas in this now, because I got to do this.
I certainly wonder if it is. And then like, there was no catch up on optimization,
right,
from an engine perspective on feature creep.
Yeah,
because like even on these cutscenes, these are largely cutscenes that were that's in the background here.
Yeah,
they're like, even when the like characters are holding items, there's detachment. They're not holding it, and here's a surprise: nobody's ever holding anything in any cutscene.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm not trying to like pierce the veil here, but it's especially obvious in Monster Hunter cutscenes.
Okay.
And it's just one of those things of like, why are the characters wobbly? Why are things so like not connected to each other? And it's just like, it definitely, to your point of feature creep, it's like, okay, did we add too many polygons to use a reference of like from 20 years ago? What it feels like 20 years ago almost.
Yeah,
it feels like we added a lot of overlay visual fidelity for not much gain on the underlying just like functionality.
Is it hampering the function? Now, granted, when I watch these videos and I've watched like actual live play, I haven't downloaded the demo or anything of the betas. It's stunning. Like it really is.
Yeah, it looks
freaking gorgeous.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
is that like it's what's crazy is that like all the visual effects look really good. The colors are really stunning.
Fantastic design.
In motion, when you can capture it at 60 FPS or above, in my opinion, it does not work below 60 FPS, and maybe you can call me a stickler for that. Whatever, I don't care. When it hits all of those notes, it's really good. It's all really good. But we can talk about, I mean, listen, I'm happy to pivot into a GPU discussion especially on PC, as far as upscaling technologies, frame generation technologies, and whether or not that should be considered as part of a core competence of a game engine. In my opinion, it should not. We're unfortunately getting to the point, and this is going to be a major point for Switch 2, and B, it's already a big part of PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro, which is the fact that like it has the Pro of PS5 has a better upscaler than the base PS5 because it has additional cores to specifically do upscaling on it. And the next gen of consoles are going to be hyper focused on that type of technology. And whether or not that's how we judge these types of things.
Right.
Do we need frame generation to be how games can function from a core competency level? It's not going to be for me to decide, unfortunately. It's going to be between game companies and the respective chip developers. They're going to hash that out internally. We're not going to be part of that choice. Right. If it was up to me, ideally not. Frame generation looks pretty bad. If we look at the newest generation of NVIDIA GPUs, where they've introduced now multi-frame generation, which is one base frame, 3 artificially AI generated frames, and then one base frame again.
Starts to look like the motion thing on your TV that everyone hates.
It's pretty bad, man. Like you get really high FPS, but it's gonna really rear its ugly head once the 5060 comes out.
Sure.
The 5070 has mostly mitigated it, but the 5060 which is inevitable, but will not have the horsepower even of the 5070, which is pretty piss poor, in my opinion. The 5060 is going to come out, and it's just like it's gonna be awful. Frankly, it's going to be the 4070 of last generation, but it's going to be trying to do multi-frame generation, which is again the tripling of frames of render, but because it's last generation's kind of negative, I don't know. Anyway, this isn't about Monster. We're past Monster Hunter Wilds, which is a very, very competent Monster Hunter game, which is hampered by some relatively negative visual experience. I don't want to necessarily call it how do I put it?
An issue or
it's not
a deal breaker by any means.
It's not an issue per se, and nor do I want to necessarily say that they didn't oh God, the word fell out of my head, which is really good because Dolly's going to eventually try and turn this into a YouTube cut. Shit, what's the word I'm looking for, Dolly? When you're trying to when you make a game and you're trying to make it look good.
Polish up the graphics on level 3.
No, not
Is that-
polish. It's not polish. It's
There's like a fidelity. There's a
yeah, fidelity is one word, but like
it's a word. So is apple.
it's something
so is
about
cabbage.
efficiency or something.
Yeah, efficiency. Yeah. Efficient.
Anyway,
precision. Okay, yeah.
No, it's not precision or efficiency.
No.
There's a specific word
Sure.
that unfortunately
It's late.
left me like probably maybe a couple
Half hour ago.
Yeah, probably give or take.
Okay.
Anyway, it's if that's not what's missing, it's something akin to that is missing.
Sure. Okay.
Gameplay wise, it's there. Monster wise, in my opinion, it's there.
They're sick monsters.
I think that the designs are good. I think that all of the visuals are good, but I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, the accessibility is somewhat missing. Like,
sure,
hit me with Rise 1. Even 2.0. Double what Rise did. Make it. Don't. I feel like this is wise. Like wise. I feel like this is Rise times 8. Give me Rise times 4.
Okay.
Quadruple the size of what Rises did. Quadruple maybe double the fidelity of what Rise did. Because I thought it looked all really good. And just like it feels like too far a reach.
Capcom's kudos to them for this engine, because this engine does a good job of they were able to make games on the Switch. Their games on the Switch look
that's what's crazy to me is that like
Mm-hmm.
this ran on Switch. I mean, like granted, it didn't run at 60 FPS all the time, but it ran at 30 plus all the time. I put in like at least 100 hours of time on Monster Hunter Rise for Switch.
Wow.
So like it obviously works.
Yeah.
And it's just like what went wrong? I don't know.
Sure.
We'll see. Maybe down the line we'll figure it out. But I mean that's up to Capcom on whether or not they tell us. Don't hold your breath. They're probably not going to say anything about if they figure it out.
No, they're working on their the regular updates, and I probably already got the next big DLC chunk thing.
The DLC is already planned. There's no doubt about that. That's a core part of what Monster Hunter is ever since since World.
Yep.
Because World had Icebreak, Rise had
Iceborne, Sunbreak, and now this will have something.
And then this will have something else, and it's going to be the major. A lot of people don't consider Rise as successful until Sunbreak came out.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that there's a lot of people that don't consider Monster Hunter World as successful until Iceborne came out. So
right.
It's just we're again another discussion for another day about major content updates and what that means for what games are and stuff like that. But
it's looking at supposedly the sales numbers for Rise, Sunbreak, and Iceborne. Monster Hunter, let's see, the Rise is apparently the 26 million for Rise.
Are you serious?
26 million. And I mean, World and Iceborne have 44 million. So World or Iceborne, because that came out towards the when the PS4 was just at its peak.
Right, but keep in mind.
Yeah.
Sunbreak never came out on any other console.
It did eventually.
Wait, did it get released on other consoles?
It got released on the other consoles, but it had already but it was like 2 years later.
That was past. That was after Sunbreak came out. That's when it hit other consoles.
Yeah, and by then they were already like the hints of the next big Monster Hunter, and then
I didn't realize that they hit other consoles when it hit PC.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. I actually no, it hit the PC first, and then like a year later, it dropped on the rest of the consoles. So by then, people had either already played it or
that's crazy.
Yeah, but World's number. I think World is 28 million on its own, and then Iceborne is 23.5 million. I mean, Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak together are 26 million. So Yeah. Either way, big numbers. I'm sure this is already at like 10 million or something crazy like that.
Listen, Wild is going to do great.
Yeah.
The performance issues, unfortunately, will hold it back.
Yeah.
And we'll see. We have not received a significant PC patch yet.
Yep.
Hopefully, that one is upcoming.
Yeah.
Well, God only knows that there is no graphics card which is saving it.
Yeah.
Whether it's 50, NVIDIA's 5080 certainly helps. But like we're at a point in time where, and I'm going to pivot off. This is no longer about Wild. This is about AAA games that are trying to push envelopes in general. We're at a point where 5090 is not a GPU that people are buying. 5090 is a $2,000 MSRP graphics card. 5080, realistically, is not a GPU that people are buying. It's a $1,000 MSRP graphics card. It's not a thing that people are buying.
Yeah.
It is double the price of an average gaming console.
Yeah, it's true.
Which does all of it all in one.
Yep.
As opposed to just a GPU. Even the 9070 XT that I bought, which is an MSRP of $600, is not a thing that people are buying, which is equivalent to an NVIDIA 5070 Ti. It's not a thing that people are buying. And when those types of graphical processors are not capable of running these games at relatively good performance, there is something that is overall wrong. Something is askew. And we're at this weird inflection point. We're at this precipice where PS5 came out. What were they both 2019 or 2018? Dolly.
PS5 2020.
It's fucking.
That's COVID deep, dude.
Lame ass shit. But anyway, so I guess my broader point here is that we're way past the inflection point of PCs, computers, and PC GPUs and consoles are effectively synonymous. They're directly comparable. We're past the console. You can't compare a console to a PC.
Yeah,
we're way past that.
Yeah.
I think that Xbox 360 and PS3 were probably the last console that you could do that for.
Yeah.
And now we're at the point where the advantage of a console is the fact that it is a unique platform to develop for and against, which we were already making that comparison for back in the 360, back in the original Xbox. Things were getting really close to doing that. They're like, well, you don't understand, console, it's always the same. You can, you don't have to predict what it's going to be. Well, now we're at the point where everything is basically a computer.
Yeah.
At the foreground, there's no specific chips that are doing anything particularly unique. It's just the fact that you have a particular spec that you're developing against. And to go back to our earlier conversation, this is the reason why the Xbox Series S particularly failed, is because it is just a lower spec computer compared to the PS5 and compared to the Series X. So with that being the case, this offers a unique question, which is, why is performance on PC suffering compared to performance on console because it's not that different.
Mm-hmm.
It's not different enough anymore to justify a deterioration in quality of performance when moving to PC.
I want to get a dev on the podcast. We're gonna have to get a dev
I would
on the
love
podcast
to,
we'd love to pick their brain and find out what goes into this detail.
Because at the end of the day, the engine is consistent.
Mm-hmm.
The target, the target device is relatively consistent.
Yeah,
I mean, like, is the drivers that the Xbox and the PS5 run more consistent? Yes. You know exactly what the drivers do, and you know exactly what they're capable of.
They're not running Excel in the background or any.
Right. I mean, like,
are those into? Yeah.
Like, is that enough to justify a like this significant of a deviation? No, it's like, or is it such that they are running on hardware during DevOps at the studios, where upscaling is a core component, where frame generation is a core component, where those are being developed as part of the process?
Sure.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
Maybe.
If that's the case, I'm like, wow, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
That's too bad. Yeah. You know, we're kind of boned in that regard, if that's the case. And you know, such is life. But you know, it's a weird.
It's bigger here.
That's the type of things that come to my mind.
Sure.
After going through the process and thinking about it. Wilds is just the most recent example of it because it pushes things as far as it does.
And it's not playable on Steam Deck, like everything I've heard.
No. So yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective, people certainly did try and play it on Steam Deck.
Yeah.
And it is a 15 to 25 frames per second slideshow. It's and this is what's really strange about Wild specifically is that you basically can't reduce Wilds to a playable state on Steam Deck specifically. So it's like, what about Wilds makes it not reducible? And they said, well, I'm asking, you know, non-answerable questions between the two of us, at least. Is that like, is it the amount of space that it tries to render? Is it X, Y, you know, is it X, Y, or Z?
Yeah.
And actually I'll keep mentioning Digital Foundry. They just put out a video like in the last 48 hours, which was a recap of, you know, playing on Steam Deck AAA games in the past.
Yeah. That's why I brought it up. Yeah.
In the past 12 months. And it's getting harder. But what's weird is that some games still can do it. Some games can't. So there's obviously some things that some developers are doing, and there's a bunch of things that some developers aren't doing.
I'm worried that we will get into we've talked about this in the past, like what's that baseline that you develop for? You even mentioned it here when you're talking about Rise and Sunbreak and stuff. What's that baseline you develop for? And do you, if something like the Steam Deck doesn't get an updated version, I mean, I don't anticipate a new Steam Deck in the next year at least, and you start releasing big games, continue to try to release big games, will companies dedicate resources to porting down to this?
No,
you don't think so?
No. So like, we've honestly been blessed by, so as much as I've hated on the Xbox Series S, for being a poor business decision, it's been a boon for kind of
getting that Steam
Deck support. Because its specs are
and
so much
Switch
lower
support in a way too, because people have ported down from the Series S stuff to Switch. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Is that like Series S been basically a jumping off point for lower tier devices as a result. But yeah, I mean, once we start to leave that stuff behind, which is, and we're coming up on it. I mean, we're hitting year 6 of the series soon.
Yeah. We're in it. We're in it. Yeah, 2020 November of 2020 at launch. So we're in
for PS5 or for Xbox
both,
Series?
right? Both of them launch in 2020.
They were both 2025 or 2020?
2020. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we're 5 years.
So we're gonna hit 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, COVID fucked me up real bad.
Yeah.
And that and the fact that I didn't buy any of them.
Yeah.
Any of the consoles.
Smart.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, like, it's weird because so much has changed, or at least to me, it feels like so much has changed in the last 5 years. Since COVID happened, that I feel, other than Nintendo, it feels so much harder to predict for every other, for Sony and for Microsoft than it did before. The pathway forward feels less clear.
I mean, they're trying to, you still have companies trying to create these giant games, right? All the AAA companies are dealing with it, and you're getting stuff failing. You're getting because they're just not that. You're not hitting those numbers. You're pouring cash into stuff.
Well, I mean, like, so that's another aspect of it, right?
Yeah,
which is the fact that, like,
we'll go too deep.
I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but the nature of developing games overall has changed
very much,
which is that your live live service games are so much more of the product category, that while single player games can succeed, a la some of the stuff from Insomniac with with PlayStation Studios, that it's not the predominant. It's not necessarily the guarantee that it used to be.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't have a grand statement on it, but like the fact that when you see a studio shut down, I feel like there's an 80% chance that it's because they were trying to launch a live service game which failed. And that's because we are still chasing, or game studios are still chasing,
Fortnite.
I mean,
in a way, at the
end of the day, and if it's not Fortnite, it is some semblance of what Fortnite could achieve from a revenue standpoint. I don't want to say that Destiny is chasing Fortnite, because I think that it actually does do something different than it. But you look at what Destiny has become, you look at even what No Man's Sky has become. Like, No Man's Sky launched over 10 years ago in a completely different version of what it is today. But No Man's Sky continues to exist today because they figured out how to.
It was 2016, by the way, so almost 10. Definitely 9 years ago. Yeah, it's coming up on the 10th anniversary.
But it has hard pivoted from what it was to what it is right now, which is a seasonally updated like beast, which has its own set of currency, which you can buy its own currency for, to whether it's for cosmetics or a specific thing. Like, that's not what it launched as. So it's like, are you a seasonal game which has cosmetics, or are you a seasonal game which has content which is unlocked via paid content? So that's really where my pivot point was. So you either have really, really high quality single player games, which is like, the Spider-Man games, which is like the God of War games, Last of Us games, which is specifically talking about Sony first party, or are you doing live service games, which has some draw, which manages to create a constant influx of revenue and capital? I forget what we were originally talking about. I'm going to be honest.
Monster Hunter Wilds and graphical fidelity, right? And just but no, it's
it's impossible to talk about it all without ignoring any of the rest of it all at once. Every game has its own way of monetization. Monster Hunter is going to launch this game. It's going to make a ton of revenue right up front. It's going to make a ton of revenue when it releases its inevitable expansion, and then Game of the Year edition, which will include both pieces of it at the same time, and relative DLCs on it. It's just, I don't know. Consoles are in a really weird place to me. It's because Xbox is apparently not going to release an upgraded version of its console.
No Xbox Series X Pro. That's not coming.
Right. There's no the next Pro that is readily apparent as of right now. And without that, I don't know. It's just like games keep running more and more like shit on PC, which is really fucking weird to me.
It should be the opposite, right? You'd want it to.
This is what I'm saying. Is that like
so
consoles keep getting more and more PC like? Why does the performance keep deviating further and away from PC?
Sure.
It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm struggling. I'm trying real hard to get it.
I mean, I'll just say this: we ain't gonna figure it out in the hour and a half that we've been chatting here.
No, but I'll keep talking about it, dog. Don't tempt me.
No,
I'm not ready, man.
You're not ready. No, it's gonna be a wild. We say it every time. It's gonna be wild, but
honestly,
the next 2 years are gonna be.
One of the things I love about Switch is that it is a true grounding point for games.
It's true.
If people want to make a game that hits the most amount of people, you make a game that releases on Switch.
Because it'll function on everything.
Right. Well, no, not just that, but there is no console that sells more than Switch. At least as far as last generation is concerned.
Gaming wise, I mean, if a game launches on Switch and everything else, it tends to sell better on Switch. Maybe FIFA the FIFA games and the NBA games not as much, but you're still selling to Switch to people. So
what I pray is that the Switch 2 comes out and it will continue to be a kind of grounding rod for a
lightning rod,
a grounding rod. I mean, I don't know, whichever
somebody's rod
adverb you want to pick. As far as graphical fidelity is concerned,
it'll help push things up a little, which is good.
Well, I mean, oddly enough, not push things up, but keep things down. Make sure that make sure that you can make a game that can run on what the Switch 2 will be. Because realistically, from the rumors that have been shown, is that it's probably going to be something akin to like a PS4 Pro.
Between a PS4 and a PS4 Pro, something what people
right, something along those lines in a handheld form, and as long as developers make a game that can run on that and also run on PC, well then maybe we'll see some ports that'll come along that can still run on, say, a Steam Deck, or what the successor to a Steam Deck might look like. That's the hope and dream.
That's the hope and dream. My hope and dream is to hit the hay here shortly, because it is 10:30 on a Sunday. We've been yapping.
And you're a donkey and you're hungry. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I was gonna break out, and you'll get to know this very soon.
Hit me up. No. We got time. We got time, Dally.
You're gonna be selling these suckers soon enough.
Ooh,
you hold on to them, boy. These are the
it's okay, because right now, guess what? Across the street, I'm buying them.
There you go. Yeah, we were at the mall the other day, and and we walked past a very sad looking family that was like, "Hey, do you want to buy our?" Not sad in that way, but just like no one's buying our Girl Scout cookies, and I'm like, "Yeah, I
It's
can't.
all right.
I'm trying not to buy them. I'm trying to be fiscally responsible, and more. I'm trying to be sugar responsible.
I'm trying to be calorically responsible.
Calorically responsible. And then we went and got coffee, and the coffee sucked so bad that I had to get. It was bad coffee. It was so bad. I'm like, give me an espresso shot, and this tasted like metal. So my wife and I. By the way, this is a side story, but it kind of loops back in. Go to this new coffee place. We want to support local. We've been big on supporting local businesses lately. Like if it's a local business, we're gonna go there before we go to anything else. So I went to this local place. Just opened up. I ordered I'm like, can I get can I get a latte? I think it said latte. Whatever. They're like, okay, what would you like? I'm like, non-fat milk, please, in the latte. And they're like, we have like whole milk, and we have half and half, and we have oat milk. I'm like, you know what? Just give me a double shot of espresso. Give me an espresso. That's totally fine. We're like, okay. And then the manager comes over. He's like, yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Like, what kind of milk do you like? Because we're soft launching, and we're trying to figure out what people want in their coffees. I'm like, brother, if you don't know what people want in your coffee from a milk standpoint, you're already
How are you soft launching?
How are you soft launching? Do you not know anything about coffee? Apparently they didn't, because they brought the coffee over, and this tasted like metal. Both my wife and I looked at each other. I'm the kind of person who's overly polite and will still drink it and tell somebody else that they're wrong, that, hey, this is coffee done the right way. First time my wife and I looked at each other, and I'm like, let's get this to go. After I sit there, I'm like, we got to get going to get some do some more shopping. And bro, we walked out. We went around the corner so they didn't see us. We dropped the cups into the trash. I'm like, there's no way I'm drinking this. This is the worst coffee I've ever had.
That's crazy.
And then as we continued walking, I'm like, okay, now I need to get the taste out of my mouth. And so I purchased the Girl Scout cookies because I felt so bad. I'm like, I could have spent money on the Girl Scouts.
Is it opened up yet?
No.
Open it up right now.
I'm opening this sucker up. I got this, and I got the trefoils. I don't know what your favorites are. I like the s'mores ones. They're really good. It's 10:30, bro. 10:40.
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm also in the same time zone.
Yeah. It's totally fine. By the way, I don't know if anyone's selling Girl Scout cookies at PAX. You got my heart. Here we go. All right, these are good. It's just so good. Look at it. It's got the multiple layers in there. These are my favorites. Although they had new ones. They had like a caramel, like a salted caramel cookie. Just like I remember them. So good. Right here. Hits the heart.
Yeah, you can tell that the
so good.
Factory that made those is really from the heart.
Good stuff. Okay. My mouth is full of cookies and crumbs. I'm going to let you go so I can go finish watching basketball. There's a couple games left. I've been all about the March Madness.
I feel you.
And you're like, you're Mr. March
100%.
Madness.
They called me Mr. Madness around
Mr. MonHun Madness right there. And I've got some Xenoblade to play. And because my daughter is kids off for spring break this week, I don't have to wake up at 5:30 to get her ass to school at 6:30. I can actually sleep in till my first meeting is 8 o'clock. So, bro, I'm waking up at 7:55.
Damn.
I feel so good. So I can afford to stay up a little bit later to watch some sports and play some games.
Enjoy.
My friend, always fantastic to chat with you. Get your rest and start getting ready for PAX. I know we're like a little over a month away, month and a half away, but you take the deep breath. I don't know if you started planting seeds yet. I finally planted seeds.
A little bit.
Mine are not popping. I only have a couple that have popped out. They're not doing so well. So I'm wondering if it's my soil that might be the problem. So I just bought a whole new bag of soil today. I'm like, let me try this stuff. So, but I got all my good seeds. So I'm excited.
Good.
We'll have to do maybe updates every few weeks on the.
We'll do the seed update. Definitely.
Seed update. My friend, take care. Taylor, You can find Taylor and me over in the Discord at sidequesting.com. Hop on over there. SideQuesting TV, YouTube, and Twitch. We're over on Blue Sky. And with that, we will see you on the next episode of the SideQuest. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.